So the first opportunity is Developer Week, especially volunteering at Developer Week. So for a lot of these top conferences, especially like Developer Week, one of the largest developer conferences in the world, you want to start off as a volunteer, especially if you don't think you have the expertise to, say, speak at one of these conferences or judge some of their awards. So if you look here, they also have awards. So you can just sign up for as a volunteer. This is something that's coming up pretty soon. Just sign up as a volunteer and use this volunteering opportunity as a way to get exclusive access to events. And sometimes they even comp your tickets, so you can just get access to all these workshops, keynotes, networking. You can get all these events for pretty much free in exchange for volunteering. So that's something you probably want to do as a junior and mid-level professional who's working towards EB-1A or O-1 or even NIW. And even as a senior professional, if you don't manage to land a speaking opportunity at one of these top conferences or get to judge their awards or get on their boards, one way to start meeting the people who are on their boards, who are on the boards of these organizations, who are the speakers for these conferences, is to just volunteer, to show up at these events and start conversations, because you never know where these conversations will lead. For all you know, you might volunteer at Developer Week and end up meeting one of their advisory board members or someone who's judging their awards, the devies. And then through that, you can get more involved in related events and then eventually start to meet the people who can then consider you for speaking opportunities, for judging opportunities. So volunteering is always a great way to get involved in some of these higher level, more prestigious conferences. Same can be said for South by Southwest. So this is another top conference in tech, and this is happening pretty soon. They have all these volunteering support and sign-up sessions, and this is something you can just apply to. A lot of people just apply to volunteer for this conference, and then once you apply again, you can take the same approach of meeting some of the people who might be able to connect you to more higher level opportunities. So I know South by Southwest definitely has awards, definitely has a conference where they have speakers. So those are just two opportunities that might be of interest to you if you eventually want to attend South by Southwest again and learn more about their speaking opportunities, learn more about their awards opportunities. A great way is just to volunteer and then try to meet some of the people who are involved in organizing the conference as a way to start learning about these opportunities and applying for them as soon as they open, because you'll have a better understanding of possibly the speaker selection process or the judge selection process for awards. So that's another opportunity. And then the third opportunity I want to cover is this is something I recently came across. It's an organization called the United States Research Software Engineer Association. So you can volunteer at this organization. It's a community of people who make research software happen. So it's a pretty interesting initiative for some of you who are software engineers, who are interested in this aspect of software engineering. So there's a lot you can cover here. Let me just check if I'm still sharing my screen because I don't see that. That's weird. I thought I was sharing my screen. I don't know how much of that. I don't know where I stopped. But anyways, so if I didn't go through some of this already, so South by Southwest, volunteering opportunities. Rewatch the recording for that part of the live stream. And then the United States Research Software Engineer Association, a community of people who make research software happen. So this is the third opportunity that I want to cover. It is something that a lot of you, it's a pretty new organization, I think, but they already have a lot going on. They have a bunch of awards. They have a lot in the about section. This is always good because it means it's a serious organization, most likely. And then they also have a conference that's coming up. It's going to happen in October, and you can volunteer for this conference. They also, I believe, they have a planning committee, so you can reach out to some of these people. And if you look, it's some of the top universities that are helping organize this conference. So this is always a good sign when it comes to a conference, when it comes to an organization. And then there are just ways to participate, such as sharing your research software, discuss research software engineering practices. So all kinds of interesting opportunities coming up for this organization that I haven't really heard much about, as in people talk about, but it seems reputable given the people who are involved. So this is another opportunity you want to be exploring, getting involved in the US research software. Yeah. What was the name of it? United States Research Software Engineer Association. So something I haven't really, most people talk about IEEE and ACM, but then there are some of these more niche organizations out there that are also worth taking a look at. So anyone have questions based on what I just shared? Tappa working as a senior data scientist. Welcome to the live stream. Hi, Henry. That was Rohan from Tappa. Hi, Rohan. Hi, Henry. Hi, Roshan from Charlotte. Would love to have some insights to how you can present your profile with 3 unchecked or unreviewed papers while having good experience in software engineering application security. So is this in regards to NIW or EB-1A? Feel free to clarify. But yeah, those are the 3 opportunities. Anyone have questions about the opportunities? So I can also show all of you the resources that I'm working on right now. So just to show you all briefly. So I do share more opportunities right now through my paid newsletter, which is $12 per month. And that gives you access to my profile building opportunities database, which is a database of over 260 profile building opportunities for EB-1A, O-1, and NIW. So it's covering fields right now like software engineering, product management, cloud computing, AI, semiconductors. All kinds of fields are right now being covered in this database. So cybersecurity is one as well. And these are just to give you an idea of where to start. And I've categorized opportunities not just by field, but also by criteria, related criteria as well. And this is all to just give you a start in this profile building process for EB-1A, for O-1, and possibly even NIW, depending on your proposed endeavor. So this is just to get you started with profile building. And I also share AAO decisions reviews. So these are decisions that are released by the AAO, the appeals office, that go into USCIS's reasoning for initially denying an EB-1A or O-1 or NIW. So I draw profile building insights from these decisions. So they directly go into USCIS's reasoning for initially denying a petition. So it's always good to review these decisions to better understand what USCIS is looking out for and flagging. So I share a bunch of these decisions with comments in my newsletter resources. Then I'm also building out video resources right now. This is something I've just started to work on. So I'm editing videos right now based on recorded conversations I'm having with people who got their EB-1As, people who got their NIW. So that's just a way for me to get better insights into how they built their profiles and then share these insights with my newsletter subscribers. So right now I have 2 videos edited, and I'm going to be adding more videos shortly, and having more conversations with EB-1A recipients. And as for how to sign up for the newsletter, this is what you can do. You can just click on View My Newsletter on my profile page, and then you'll get more information on the newsletter, get access to some reviews too. So these are just some reviews that you can look at that I've posted, that I've shared about the resources. And then if you're interested, you can always just subscribe and then go through this process of signing up for my paid newsletter, which is $12 per month. Oh, and 2 other things. In addition, you'll also get access to my private profile building group, which is where I try to introduce people to other people within the group. So right now there are over 100 people in that group. So you get access to that too as part of my paid newsletter. And you also get access to a database of people I've actually spoken to. So these are pretty much like partners I'm working with, as in people I'm affiliated with. These are universities, these are industry groups, these are people who are running hackathons. You can directly reach out to these people, mention my name, and start a conversation. So these are just fast-tracked ways for you to get involved in certain activities that you want to get involved in. And these contacts take quite a long time to put together because I have to do a lot of outreach. And I think only 2 out of every 10 people I reach out to reply. So it's a slow list. It's they're 10, 11 people right now, and I'm just slowly adding to those lists. Yeah, now we can just move on to general EB-1A questions, or NIW questions, O-1 questions. Roshan says, great insight, Jason, thanks. For NIW, it's about proposed endeavor. It's not really about papers. You gotta have an understanding of what your proposed endeavor is and how you plan to contribute to a field of national interest. You should start there instead of thinking about what aspects of your profile you think will just generally show merit for your profile. Your profile is based on a proposed endeavor. Without that, it's really hard to say if you're actually profile building in the right way. So just have a sense of what your proposed endeavor is first. So it's really hard to answer this question without more context. Kapil asks, what review activities are required for judging criteria and how to get review opportunities? Peer reviewing journal articles is always the best way to go. Peer reviewing major trade publication pieces could also be a way to go. You always want to be showing that you're judging the work of other professionals in your field. That's why sometimes student activities won't count towards your final EB-1A case. That being said, you should still do some of these activities if you're just starting, as a way to get more involved in your field, as a way to meet more top professionals. How to get these review opportunities? Honestly, there are only a couple of ways. One way is to join member organizations in your field and start attending local chapter events, local events, regional events, and start working with people who you meet at these events. That's one way to go. The other way is just to reach out to a lot of people on places like LinkedIn, email people, email professors, and just really try to crack out those emails and messages so that you can start some conversations based on your field of expertise, see if you can how you can help the other person. And then that's also another way to land peer review opportunities, just doing a lot of outreach. I've seen this work at least once, multiple times actually. People just doing 50 to 100 emails a week and then eventually landing quite a few peer review opportunities. What they did was, they looked at papers that had been recently published in, say, an IEEE society that they were a part of. They then started reaching out to the co-authors of these papers, and then through that, they were able to get peer review opportunities. So it's something else you can do. Another thing you can do is start attending conferences and then eventually get onto their steering committees, or getting onto a planning committee for a conference. That's another way to get peer review opportunities, especially if it's an academic or research-focused conference. That's another way to get peer review opportunities. Offer to review the submissions for that specific conference. That's another way to get peer review opportunities. I went to H-1B and just started thinking about other, more faster ways to green card. Should I consult with an immigration lawyer first to see which path might be the best? Most likely, you want to speak to a lawyer about your specific individual circumstances. Also depends on where you are and whether you've decided. It also depends on, which backlog you're in. So depending on your, whether you're an Indian national or Chinese national like that also, or whether the rest of the world. If you're an Indian national, most likely EB-1 is something you want to look at eventually. But speak to an immigration lawyer about your specific circumstances, because that is something that you probably want to only speak to a lawyer about, so they can give you more contextual advice. But generally, you probably want to look at EB-1 if you're an Indian national. Now, Simha asks, thanks for conducting the session. How to get membership opportunities? Sorry if you are planning to cover this later. Just thought of checking if I missed this in the beginning. Thanks. How to get membership opportunities? Join membership organizations. member organizations. Talk to the people in your field and see what they're involved in. That can also help as well. Just start doing a lot of outreach in general, because that can be a great way to not only meet more professionals in your field who can then work with you on other opportunities, but you also get a sense of what the top professionals are doing in your field. You can just reach out to some of these top professionals. A lot of you work at top companies. So just reach out to the more senior people within your companies to see what organizations they are contributing to, what organizations they are a part of. Sometimes these organizations aren't even listed on their LinkedIn profiles, so you're going to have to ask them about their involvement within these organizations or whether they're involved in the field outside of their work. That can be one way to go in learning more about the membership opportunities out there for your specific field. And yeah, you can also take, for your specific field, not sure if I cover it in my database, but there should be a bunch of membership opportunities there too for you to look at. Anyone have questions in general? Any questions? Feel free to ask questions. Yeah, so just if there are no other questions, just in general, doing a lot of outreach is what you want to be doing. Whether that's reaching out to people on LinkedIn, emailing them, or going to local events hosted by some of the member organizations you are a part of, or just local events in general to try to meet people who are getting more involved in your field, that's another way to go. What you don't want to just be doing is apply for things and then just kind of sit there and wait. What you want to be doing is doing a lot of outreach. Looking to build judging and file in 3-4 months. File an EB-1A in 3-4 months. Well, for judging, you just want to get more involved in. So generally speaking, peer reviewing helps the most with judging. But you can also try to judge industry-focused events. So for tech, it would be, say, hackathons. So that's one way to go, peer reviewing, judging hackathons. Another way is something else you can do is judge. I think judging major trade publications could potentially work as well. But peer reviewing is definitely something you want to be doing. Peer reviewing journal articles. USCIS seems to like the academic perspective, so that is definitely something you want to be looking at. Building judging is not the fastest way to getting to a strong profile. You want to make sure you already have a strong profile first, if your timeline is 3 to 4 months, that you have an accurate criterion. But yeah. Who's your favorite EB-1A attorney in the field of software engineer? So a couple of people come to mind, but for a lot of you probably know that I also do a lot of live streams with Amber Davis. So you might want to speak to her about EB-1A. She's the attorney I have the most experience with. So I guess you could go to her. Yeah. So building judging, unless you already have high salary, leading a critical role, you could try to meet judging as well, but just make sure you have the other criteria confirmed first, because you don't want to be in a position where 3 to 4 months later you realize you built out judging, but you actually just have, I don't know, like leading a critical role, but no high salary, for example. So you want to make sure you're in a position where judging actually makes sense for your profile building, because it could be judging, just judging, or it could be judging and authorship. So just make sure I would say, like, since you didn't really ask a question, I would say just make sure if your timeline is 3 to 4 months that focusing on judging is enough, and that you want to take the approach you're taking. Like for all I know, you could have 5 criteria already, and then you just want to meet a 6th. But if that is not the case, then you want to be maybe taking on one more additional criterion. that is less to do with what you've already done, which could be authorship. But yeah, less senior. I mean, i.e., EEE senior membership application reviews, potentially, but still difficult. I would say potentially. You want to ask a lawyer about this specific, because I haven't really had people ask me about this specific example of judging, but I guess it could still count as judging the work of others because you're judging the work of other professionals in your field. Maybe make sure you're judging applications that are being sent by professionals in your specific field and not just the field in general. And then since there is some criteria to do with assessing the work of the people who submit these applications, then perhaps that could be something you could claim towards judging. But generally speaking, if you don't want any sort of pushback or as little pushback as possible, it seems like peer reviewing journal articles is the best way to go for judging. Alex says, thanks, you're welcome. Red asks, hello, how many judges are needed? There's no specific number. Go for higher quality opportunities if possible. Just a couple of those could be great already. I've seen people claim a strong judgeable criterion just by judging 2 highly prestigious hackathons at brand name universities. That could be a way to go. It's not really about the number of judging opportunities, nor will doing more judging actually help beyond the criterion unless it's specifically tied to your anchor criterion, which is original contributions or leading a critical role. Like, for example, if you're an academic and you do a lot of peer reviewing, of course it's going to help a lot with judging, but it's not you should do less peer reviewing if it is part of your job as an academic to review research papers. Any other questions? All right, last question. Thank you. How to go about reviewing peer review journals. So how to go about peer reviewing journals. So one way is to get involved in conferences and organizing conferences that accept papers. If you look at some of the opportunities in my database, you'll see a lot of these conferences have calls for papers. Those kinds of conferences you want to get involved in. I mean, the research organization I just showed you, the one about software engineering, that one has papers. So if you get on their planning committee, if you get on their like paper review committee, then perhaps that could be a way for you to start peer reviewing articles for conferences. It doesn't just have to be journals. For specific journals, you want to go for even higher tier conferences where there are journals attached to these conferences, because maybe they publish their proceedings in these journals that they're affiliated with. That could be another way. This is pretty common for IEEE conferences where if your proposal is accepted into an IEEE conference, it sometimes gets published in the journal affiliated with the conference. So that could be another way to go in getting peer review opportunities. Yeah, those are the 2 that come to mind. The third one is just reaching out to a lot of people who've published in certain journals, getting into conversations with them, and using that as a way to then get involved in the journal and then eventually help peer review some of the journal submissions. That's another way that works too. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of volume. Azrat says, thank you. You're welcome. Right, that was last question. Thanks again, everyone, for joining the live stream. Thanks, everyone.